If you're in your 20s right now, there is a very high probability that you are already falling behind. Not because you're lazy, not because you aren't trying, but because you are competing in an invisible race with rules no one ever bothered to explain to you. Every morning, you wake up and tell yourself the same comforting lie. I'm still young. I have time. You treat your financial life as something that begins at 30, when you finally figure it out. This diagram shows exactly how compounding locks in your future. Right now is the exact origin point. A microscopic shift in your financial habits today curves into an insurmountable divide by the time a decade passes. The game is being decided at this very second. And because the game looks simple, make money, spend money, repeat, you don't even notice when you're losing. Millions of people believe that simply earning a paycheck means they are successfully building wealth. The size of that paycheck is almost irrelevant. Whether you bring in $1,000 or $10,000 a month, if you lack deliberate control over where those dollars go, the math always ends in the exact same place, zero. To stop sliding backward, you have to build a base layer. The absolute first skill of survival is extreme control. Knowing precisely what you say yes to and what you force yourself to walk away from. This requires mastering delayed gratification, doing what is hard today so life becomes easier tomorrow. But your brain actively fights this. It demands speed and comfort. Endless scrolling, daily food delivery, impulse buys. They feel incredibly harmless in the moment. Over time, those tiny hits quietly drain your future. Professionals counter this with a mechanic called the pause. They insert a deliberate physical gap of time between a sudden urge to buy and the final transaction. They think first and only then decide if the cost is justified. Amateurs avoid this friction entirely. They spend first, check their accounts later, and never actually know where their cash is flowing. If you don't know exactly where your money is coming from or going, you are essentially just guessing. And in finance, guessing is highly expensive. By mapping out your cash flow and forcing that disciplined pause on your spending, you stop being a reactive consumer. You transform into a deliberate manager of capital. This diagram illustrates the danger of a single structural support. Once your base is secure, you need capacity. Most people try to balance their entire financial lives on top of a single salary, but generating your capacity from just one job constitutes dependency rather than security. The alternative is income stacking, systematically layering multiple smaller revenue streams over your primary pay. Because you lack the capital for physical real estate or large businesses, these pillars must be digital. They allow you to build an asset once and scale it to thousands of people without needing more of your physical time. A job trades your limited hours for a fixed sum. A system leverages digital tools to build independent equity. This structure ensures that even if one column fails, the entire platform remains stable. To build this, you need to acquire actual digital leverage. You need to establish online revenue streams, and crucially, you must learn original, high-value skills. Copying existing trends is a trap that never lasts. When you decentralize how you get paid, you remove the catastrophic risk of a single point of failure. You evolve from a dependent employee into a self-sustaining economic system. With income flowing and expenses controlled, you hit the preservation layer. This is where most people freeze. They hear the word investing and immediately back away, convinced that the market is entirely too risky. But this diagram illustrates the silent mathematical threat of inflation. Doing nothing is actually the most dangerous move you can make. Every single day your cash sits idle, inflation is attacking it, destroying its purchasing power while you sleep. Professionals counter this decay with logical risk management. They don't blindly chase growth. They define strict mathematical limits to protect their capital first, allowing controlled upside only after the floor is secured. Beginners do the exact opposite. They ignore protection entirely to chase explosive short-term gains. Without predefined limits, the market inevitably steps in and decides those limits for them, and it is rarely gentle. By intentionally defining your boundaries, you stop playing the lottery. You force the inherent volatility of the market to serve your long-term growth rather than dictate your failure. Everything we have discussed so far requires one overarching psychological element to hold it all together: extreme self-discipline. Success is a byproduct of behavior. Fear, greed, and the urge to compare yourself to peers act as the primary saboteurs of your logic. If you follow those emotional impulses, your entire financial system collapses. Here is the uncomfortable reality of the financial game. There is no secret code. There are no fast life hacks. There are no shortcuts, and absolutely zero overnight breakthroughs. Real financial success is agonizingly slow. It is highly repetitive. Day after day, making smart, disciplined decisions can feel deeply boring in the moment, but it works. Making a quick dollar is a temporary action. Building this invisible architecture of control, income stacking, and risk protection is what actually buys your time back. Once you master that system, you don't just make money, you keep it forever.